is about to begin. May I request you to kindly mute your microphones and wait as we prepare for the session. Thank you.
Scientific communication helps in accurate and clear exchange of scientific knowledge. Therefore, this scientific communication workshop aims at informing the participants about scientific methodology and polishing their communication skills. Let us welcome our guest speaker who will be joining us at the workshop, Dr. Debjani Paul. Training at UMR 168 Physical Chemistry Unit, Curie Institute, Paris, France. She works as an associate professor at IIT Bombay and heads the Microfluidics and Biological Physics group. Her areas of interest include microfluidic devices for healthcare application and biological physics. She has been awarded with different prestigious fellowships such as Grand Challenges Exploration Phase 1 grant from the Bill Gates and Melinda Gates Foundation and the Innovative Young Technologist Award from DBT, Government of India, to name a few. We are really excited to have with us Dr. Debjani Paul.
All right, so welcome Professor Debjani Paul. She's my colleague from Department of Biosciences Bioengineering at IIT Bombay. And as many of the participants have already watched the video, she has already given you a lecture on how to write effective abstracts, scientific writing. And 2 assignments have also been posted based on that lecture and the tips given there. So Professor Debjani is going to make it a more interactive session and going to talk to you more about how to improve these skills and also some more detail about her assignment. Debjani, over to you now. I think you're muted. Maybe I'll unmute you.
Yeah. Thanks, Sanjeeva. It's a pleasure to be here. And let me start by sharing my this slides that I have for today. Just give me a sec. All right. Are you able to see the slides right now?
Yep, all good.
Okay, excellent. So I wasn't sure if everybody would have had a chance to sort of watch this 1-hour lecture. So what I thought I'd do right now is I'd give a very condensed version of this thing today and maybe discuss one extra example that's not there in the lecture. So that we can together try to understand what is how do you write abstracts, how do you identify sentences in abstracts, right? As we have seen in our just the previous session, and as Sanjeev just mentioned at the end of Vinita's talk, is that to write well, you have to read a lot, right? So you have to both read to see where people are, how people are writing. So pay attention to reading and then go on to writing, right? So today what I'm going to do is I'm going to help you understand how an abstract is written. So you have an abstract that's given to you and you kind of deconstruct it. You try to identify the sentences. I saw that you had just one slide in the previous lecture, but this is what we are going to get into this, okay? So I actually would now like you guys to tell me if I can why do we need to write good abstracts? And meanwhile, let me just sort out this bit about screen sharing. There is an issue here. So I'll just stop sharing for a minute and then, but meanwhile, can some of you at least either raise your hands or, either way, you can just type or say, why should we care to write a good abstract? That's what I would like to know. Anybody?
All right, good. Should we ask them to speak?
Yeah, if they can speak, I'll be very happy. So by the way,
Yes.
can you see my slides now?
We can, yeah.
Okay,
So
I
Kenneth,
think that-
you can go ahead and speak.
Is there anybody who's answering?
Yes. Yeah. Go ahead.
Why do we care?
So, because when people are
I think her voice is breaking slightly.
Yes. I think the voice is breaking, so we couldn't hear very well. But maybe you could sort of type in the chat your answer, and
All of you could just try, just try it here in the chat box so that we can read.
and Sanjeev, you might have to
Ma'am.
help me read that out because I'm not able to see you. Yeah,
Absolutely.
thanks. Right.
Hello, ma'am.
Yes. Hi.
Hi, I'm Dhanashri. I'm about to answer your question about writing the good abstracts. Can I answer?
Sure.
Yeah. So, ma'am, I think abstract is the first thing I read when I read a paper. So, if I like the abstract, I will read the paper. So, it's the first impression, and that can either make the impression of the paper or break it. So, I think that's why we should write a good abstract.
Excellent. Of course. So the abstract, so one thing is the title. The title has to be fairly catchy, but of course, after the title, the next thing that you're going to look at is going to be the abstract. So if you see that the abstract doesn't look attractive, you will not bother to read the rest of the paper, even if it's very exciting, right? That's one point of view. But since we discussed a lot about publishing good research and so on in the previous session, I thought that let me give you a pointer from there as well. So, we talked about, we submit our papers to a journal, and then sometimes you've heard of something called desk rejection, right? So what is a desk rejection? So the editor gets the paper, they usually read the abstract, they very quickly maybe look at the figures and so on, and then they decide, is this a good fit for the journal? Is this sort of going to get reviewed in detail and so on? So that's what is decided mainly on the basis of the good abstract. So when you are writing, your abstract has to be really, really tight. It has to have the main points, and it has to be a really good summary of whatever you have done. Okay, so it's really important to write good abstracts. So now let's just see how we can write a good abstract. Okay, so the first thing is that you go to PubMed and you search for some you want to find a topic, like let's say I would say that vaccine development for COVID-19 or something like that. If I'm going to search for this topic, I will have certain keywords, right? Vaccine, COVID-19, etc. And unless your title and abstract contain those keywords, the paper that describes those things, if they're not given in the abstract, then your search results, those papers will come much further down, right? So for your paper to be even for people to know, look, I've done this very important work on COVID vaccine development, and I need people to look at my paper, but unfortunately they'll not be able to if your abstract doesn't contain those important keywords. Okay, so remember, always there's a program that's going to search, right? So the first place where it searches is this title and the abstract. So that's why you must have your important keywords, right? And the second point is a little bit sort of maybe at this point might not be very clear, but the main idea is the abstract is to kind of not make a judgment on the paper, or not to say this paper is the best paper in the world, or it doesn't do anything, or we have solved the world's greatest problem. No, it has to be very toned down. It has to sort of just describe what you have done. So that's really important also to understand. And hopefully by the end of today's session, I'll go through a few sentences with you together that, we can see that where, the abstract doesn't just describe, but it tries to make some editorial judgment, which is not the job of an abstract. Okay. At this point, I might want to tell you that those of you who have watched the long lecture, this might be a bit of a repetition for them. So you might want to skip this, because tomorrow I'll go through the assignments. I'll pick up some of your solutions and I'll discuss those with you. But today I'm going to give you sort of a brief idea of what abstract writing is all about. So after today, if you go and watch the rest, the longer lecture, you'll be able to follow and do the assignment better. Okay. Okay, and before I go further, you've again throughout the day you've heard about citing your sources and so on, and I want to sort of bring your attention to this. So today, a lot of the things that I'll cover, they are not original research done by me. I have actually taken materials that were prepared by these writing centers in many different universities across the world. So, for example, these points that I've taken, this is from this particular university center. I have given you at the end of in the last slide a list of such resources. Those of you who want to know where to get further information, you can find it there. Okay, all right. Okay, now this I keep saying because this is a very famous abstract that was published in Nature, and that keeps coming whenever people talk about writing abstracts, or teaching about how to write abstracts. Okay, so this is something about a molecular motor which is called kinesin 5, and they and there is some original research that they have done. Okay, and they describe it in this. So this is not a review paper, this is an original research paper, and those are the kind of papers that we are going to focus on today. Okay, so if you see, this abstract has quite a bit of sentences. I forgot, about 240 words or so it has. So this is the typical length of an abstract. It's somewhere between 100 to 250 words. It shouldn't be too long. 250 is sort of on the longer side, and 100 is just about on the shorter side, and so on. Okay, so that's something to keep in mind. Now, what we are going to do together is we are going to find out how is this abstract structured. To do that, what I've done, I have highlighted different sentences here with different colors. Okay, so what I now want you guys to do is just look at this and tell me what the function of each sentence is. So I have the first sentence, which basically the blue sentence that says during cell division, mitotic spindles are assembled by microtubule-based motor proteins. Okay. If there are people here who are not biologists, who do not understand the details of this, don't worry about it. Okay, that's right now not important. But this seems like it's a general statement here. Is there somebody who can tell me what the function of the sentence highlighted in blue is? Anybody?
Ma'am, general introduction.
It's a general introduction, right? Why are you calling it a general introduction? Like, why the word general? Come on, any guess is good. There are no wrong answers right now.
Ma'am, because basically the entire abstract is about mitotic spindles, ma'am.
Okay. Somebody else? There was someone else. I heard another voice. Does anybody have a different opinion, or do they support this statement?
I was saying that in the chat, most of them are just saying it is a general introduction of the first statement about the subject.
Ma'am, because it is a
why general
introduction? It's a universal theory.
Okay, you will be able to answer this question better if you take a look at the next two sentences, which are highlighted in brown. So those two sentences are the bipolar organization of spindles. That's the one. And then the next sentence, that the hypothesis for bipolar spindle formation, and so on. So how would you classify the brown sentences?
Specific introduction.
Okay, so now is I'll ask this question again. Why is the first sentence called general introduction and this is called specific introduction?
Ma'am, the first sentence has just a basic introduction of the paper or a report, and second sentence is the modified and in detail of the first sentence, so it is called specific introduction.
Okay, can you tell me what words kind of gave you that clue looking at this sentence? How did you decide on this?
Ma'am, in the first sentence, they just said about mitotic spindles, just a line. But in the second, they were in detail about it.
Okay, all right. Good. Is there anybody else who wants to say something else?
Ma'am,
Yeah.
in the brown highlighted sentence, the brown sentence, the word hypothesis is mentioned, ma'am, which basically means the background of the general introduction.
Yeah, no, but I've given you the answer. The first sentence is general introduction, which you yourself actually have got. And the second two are specific introduction. So my question is, why do we call the first sentence, the blue one, general introduction, and the next two specific? There are some clues in the sentences.
Ma'am, for the introduction, it is for the content public division, whereas the second and third sentences are more specific. They are more towards what we are going to talk about in our paper.
You also have to be very specific in your answer. Okay, all right. I'll give you the answer.
Ma'am, basic, ma'am, there, ma'am, ma'am, the first line is actually, ma'am, why it is happening. It is described in the second, because for any research or applied research, we need the basic thing to understand, and the basic is written in these lines.
Okay, thank you for all your input.
Can I answer, ma'am?
Okay, this is the last
Yes,
one,
ma'am,
and then
please.
I'll give you the answer. Yes.
Ma'am, I would say that in the first line, it has just mentioned motor proteins, but in the second, it has mentioned which family of motor proteins, that is conserved
Excellent.
kinesin 5.
Fantastic. That was the answer I was going to give. Kinesin 5 is a motor protein, but the very first sentence does not have the word kinesin 5 anywhere, right? So it brings you to motor proteins. So slowly eases you into the topic, right? The second one then specifics, okay, there are like so many motor proteins there, but we are going to talk about this kinesin 5, okay? So that is why that is called a specific. So the first one general means all motor proteins, second one specific, kinesin 5. Excellent. All right. Now let's look at the third sentence. I believe we call this color violet. Okay, something. So, however, the precise roles of kinesin 5 during this process are unknown. So, what does that sentence do?
Yes.
I mean, it is under
Problem
research.
statement.
I mean, it is not clear, or it is under research. That is why.
Right. Excellent. You're correct. This is because it is says what is not known. So there are a couple of clues, right? What are the words that sort of in this sentence tells you that this is the sentence that talks about the knowledge gap?
However.
However, of course, I've highlighted it. Is there anything else? Unknown.
No.
Excellent. Excellent.
Unknown.
However, unknown, such words kind of give you the clue that this is the sentence that talks about what is currently needs to be done, what has not yet been done. Okay, so what is not done, the precise role of kinesin 5 in this process, right? Okay, all right. Then comes the red sentence that here we show that vertebrate kinesin 5 drives the sliding of microtubules depending on their relative orientation. Okay, that red sentence again I have highlighted. And what does it mean? What does it do?
I mean, it's the author's work actually. Actually, what has the author done? That is.
Yes, that is a summary result, right? Very important. Okay, please pay attention. Just as you need to be able to summarize the knowledge gap in one sentence, if you are a good writer, you will also be able to summarize what you have found in one sentence. In the entire abstract, I would say this is the most important sentence that is going to impress the person who's reading it, right? Okay. So this sentence is really, really important. It's not too detailed, but it's not too vague either, because they say that, okay, this particular protein drives the sliding of microtubules, but there is something about their orientation and so on. So the key details are there, right? But not too much. So that's right. It's the result sentence. Then we found in controlled in vitro assays, etc. Then the sentences that are highlighted in green again, right? What do you think those sentences are doing?
Observations and results.
That is also results. Then what is the difference between the red sentence and the green sentence?
It's more detailed.
Green one is in more detail.
Green is the basically the observed results, and ma'am, results when it means what conclusion we can draw from results, that is marked in violet or purple.
Red, you mean, right? The previous sentence. That's what you're talking about. Here we show. That's the sentence, right? Okay, right. So yeah, you could sort of. You're absolutely right that the green sentences are the ones which are very detailed results, right? But imagine you are reading the abstract without the red sentence. If jumping from that however sentence that the precise role of kinesin 5 are unknown, and then you say be found in control in vitro assays and all. Do you think somebody who's reading it for the first time would be able to grasp it? No, they'll
No,
have
ma'am.
difficulty, right? So you need that bridging result sentence, which is why I call that red sentence extremely crucial. That's the one that summarizes it in an easy way. Then it tells you in more detail, okay, how did you come up, how does this actually happen? Okay, so how does kinesin actually drives the sliding of microtubules? And then they saw, okay, we saw this, and for example, this velocity, etc. All of those things are very important numbers that we found. So these are detailed results, absolutely. Does it end there? No. There is one final sentence, right, which says our results demonstrate and how this happens in mitosis, etc. also. Okay, so that is the last sentence. Why do we have that last sentence? Why couldn't we end our abstract with the green sentences?
Ma'am, actually, the last sentence actually says about
Okay,
the
one by one,
future
please.
prospectus. Ma'am, it says about the future prospectus of the results. What can be the fruitful applications of the results, or it
Okay.
is basically the discussion-based results.
Okay, excellent. Okay, the other person who was speaking could be, I don't know your names, I'm sorry. Could you also now say whatever you were saying?
Ma'am, it's in general context.
Okay, two persons, so one after the other, please.
Other, if other researchers want to cite this paper, they can cite it in this context.
Okay, any other answer?
Ma'am, it puts the whole result into context, that how it can be used for us, like how this research is like important for us.
Yes, all three of you are right, because you kind of give one sort of individual views to this whole thing. Yes, basically it puts your result in a broader context. Like, why do I need to put my result in broader context? Because here you tell that who are the people who should read your paper. Okay, so somebody who may not be interested in kinesin 5, but they have some other interest in mitosis, okay, or they have some kind of microtubules, interest in microtubules in some other way, right? So they may not be very specifically interested in your particular motor protein, but these are the broader areas. You tell them that, okay, this paper is important for you too. Most importantly, sometimes these kind of sentences also tell you what future areas are open for other people who read the paper to build things upon. So, this abstract in a way is a nutshell of whatever is there in your paper. If your abstract is written well, it gives you so much excitement to, sort of to go forward. Okay, so whatever I have done, I'm just quickly going to just show you exactly some key things that, whatever together we discussed. But please keep in mind that why we have this statement. It's very easy to sort of look at this abstract and memorize, okay, the first sentence is going to be general, second is going to be more detailed background, etc., etc. But why it is structured this way is the most important take-home lesson for you today. So I hope you got some idea, okay? So because now what we are going to do is we are going to do this together again. Okay, so before we look at a second abstract, so just to understand that there are a typical number of sentences that you might have in of this. Again, this is not like a prescription for you to follow. This is a guideline. You can sort of have variations on this, but the briefer it is, the more in a more condensed way you can do it, the better for you. Okay, so the first couple of sentences, when we say basic introduction to the field, any scientist, any engineer should be able to understand. So the first sentence doesn't sort of go into go deep into the specifics of kinesin and whatever, right? So anybody who's read some biology might understand these sentences, right? The second one, more detailed, is to again person in this discipline. So maybe the person who studies microtubules or something like that. Okay. Then one sentence, and this is, see, they have not given you any room to play with. They haven't said that, oh, it can be 2 or 3 sentence general problem or 2-3 sentence main results. No. In one sentence, you summarize the general problem that you're trying to address, what is not known in one sentence. Okay. Similarly, main result, what have you done? You have to summarize it in one result. After that, you can have 2 or 3 sentences with, what the details, what you got that was compared to last, whatever was known, etc. Okay. And this thing again is sort of more variation of it, which is like you put this in the general context. So in the previous abstract that we saw, we just had like one sentence about the general context. Sometimes you can give an even broader perspective. So just as you sort of go into the abstract from a more zoomed out view and you zoom into things, at the end of it, you kind of again zoom out. Okay, so that is how a good abstract has to be structured. So now let me see what you have learned from what I just told you. So I'm going to give you another example, and this time I haven't done this. So I want you to look at this. I have highlighted sentences 1, 2, 3, 4, and I want you to tell me what they are, and I will type it here. Okay, so I will come out of this. I hope you can still see can you still see my screen here?
Yes, yes, yeah.
Okay.
Yes, ma'am.
So, sorry, I have to still keep it like at this zoom because I'm going to type out as we are talking. Okay, all right, tell me, first sentence, what is it doing?
General introduction.
All right, this was easy, right? So why? Is there a specific introduction here?
No, ma'am.
No, ma'am.
No, ma'am.
We have agreed about it. All right. Sentence number 2. The blue
Gap.
Or
Gap.
unknown.
It's a knowledge gap.
Excellent. Sentence
Gap.
number 2 is gap. Okay. So you can immediately see the structure that I just showed you is not a universal structure. So sometimes you can have slightly different things, right? Okay. Then what is sentence number 3?
Ultimate summary.
What's the
No.
result summary?
Yeah, results summary sentence. That's very important to say. This is the summary of the result, right? One line summary, always. Remember, gap 1 line, summary 1 line. They've followed that rule. Sentence number 4.
Methodology.
Methods. Okay. And then sentence number 5. Green sentence. What is it?
Ma'am, it is also a methodology.
Excellent. It is also methods. Good that you are not tricked by this particular abstract. What about sentence number 6, the violet one?
Results.
Results. Details of the result. Details of
Yes.
the result.
And number 7?
Broader perspective.
Broader context.
Broader perspective of what can we do
Okay.
with this?
Right. So this is what this is a new abstract that we didn't cover in my the recorded lecture, but there is a couple of other abstracts that are also there. So if you haven't looked at it, please go and look at this. Okay. All right. So now you have seen 2 different abstracts and they are slightly different in the structure. Although there is a common theme here. It starts with the general intro. It ends with the broader context. In between, you have to talk about the gap. You have to talk about sentence of summary results. Then either if your paper is more on methods, then you spend more time discussing methods, or your paper is like using very known methods. There's nothing new about that, but the results are interesting. Then you talk more about results. So points 4, 5, 6 can have some variation, and then you end with this, right? All right. Excellent. I hope I'm keeping in time. So now what we are going to do is we are going to look at some of the abstracts, some sentences from the abstract. One is a better way of writing than the other. There are 2 sentences that I'll show, and not only will you have to tell me which is better, but you'll also have to tell me why you think it's better. Okay. All right. There are 2 things, right? The left one is this one, that this paper will look at Human Genome Project and its goals. And then it says, I'll prove that scientists have ethical and moral questions about genetic engineering because of this project. I'm not going to read the right one because it's sort of a long one. If you want, you can take a few seconds to read, and then you tell me why you think which one is a better way of writing.
The left one is not the good abstract.
First one is claiming.
Wait, first one by one. How
Ma'am,
many
the left
people-
one is the not good abstract because it is
okay, because
like,
wait, hold on. So that you say the left one is not good. Now I want people to think, is there anybody who thinks the left one is the better one? Because we need to hear them out too. Anybody? Okay, silent. So I'm guessing that it means that all of you agree that left one is not a good abstract. Okay, excellent. Now can you please tell me why you think so?
like the last sentence, like I'll prove the scientist of ethics, like he wants to whoever wrote this paper, he or she wants to defend his paper instead of describing that. But as you said that in our abstract we should not defend, we just describe our process or whatever we have done. in that paper or whatever we wrote in the paper. We just make a summary, not to defend.
Right. Okay. Excellent. That is one very interesting point of view. I agree. Is there any other reason why you think, if you were to read both of these, which one would sort of you find more interesting?
Abstract is not explaining.
The right one, ma'am. The right one provides more explanation of what the article is about.
Yeah. See, this abstract is not about an original research paper, right? Just as the one we saw about kinesin spike, somebody performed some research and there were methods, etc. No, this is looking at something that has been done and they are kind of trying to look at this. So that's one thing, right? So therefore, the second one basically tells you, first of all, what on earth is the Human Genome Project, okay? Then in the second, so this here, if you look at the left one, it says the paper will look at the Human Genome Project and its goals. But here, first of all, in the first sentence, it tells you what is the Human Genome Project. Then the project says, okay, it has both scientific and ethical goals. These are the scientific goals and whether it's been done or not. And then there are sort of ethics related questions. So basically, it sort of tells you what these things are, right? And then the final sentence here is the summary that says to handle both medical, like both the science side of thing and the ethical side of thing, what the scientists need to do and so on, and that is what they have done. Again, if you read like this, it is coming across, the author who wrote this doesn't take sides. That's very important, right? Because you are describing somebody else's research, you have to be completely impartial, right? So they clearly, it's very, very impartially written. It said that yes, the scientists need to develop a clear set of principles, etc., and so on. Okay, so rather than the language of the left one, as some of you pointed out, this is a better abstract. I like it that you've you've managed to find what is a good abstract. Let's look at another one.
I think one more student, Arif Ahmed, he's raising his hand from long time, and I think
yes.
A really junior group, I think 9th or 10th grade student. I think we should take.
Oh, of course. Yes, please tell me.
Go ahead.
Can you unmute yourself?
If we can hear us.
Yes. Hello.
Yes.
Good evening.
Good evening.
I also thought that the right one was a better one because, all right, both of them are scientific to some extent, but the right one is more organized and follows the same format which we are being taught.
Yes.
So, and to a much more scientific bent of mind, for a person of that mind, then the right one will definitely be a better abstract.
Excellent. Because you see, the right one actually gives you some information. It tells you what the Human Genome Project is, what its goals are, etc. The left one just makes some statements without just telling you anything else, right? So you're absolutely right. The right one is the better abstract. Sanjay, is there anybody else who we have left out? I mean,
I think there were quite a few students, but I think they already spoke. So
okay, all right, excellent. Okay, let's move to the next one. Okay. Now here again, there are two sentences. One is a problematic sentence. Now you've got to tell me which one is the problematic one first. And I need to see if everyone agrees. If not, we will hear both points of view. So how many people think that the first sentence is problematic? Can you please say that? Then I'll ask how many of you think the second sentence is problematic? Are there any answers on the chat or?
Yeah, so we're getting some responses.
Okay. First or second, you just have to type that. Which sentence is problematic, or are you confused?
First is problematic. First is problematic.
Anybody think second is problematic? Slightly different point of view. Okay. Okay, let's go with
the second.
So far, I think I see only first, most of them.
Okay. All right. If everybody thinks the first is problematic, can one of you please tell me why you think the first is problematic?
No, I think one student got second as well. Kashish.
Okay, then I'd like that person to speak first and tell us why.
Kashish, go ahead, and then Suryadeep, you can speak. Second one.
So why is the second sentence problematic? Why do you think so?
Kashish or Suredeep, speak.
This abstract is about oversplitting, but in second it's focusing on individual oversplitting, not as the general population of oversplitting. That's why I'm thinking second is little bit problematic.
I'm sorry, I think there was some disturbance. Can somebody please repeat if you heard clearly?
According to me, I think this abstract is about oversplit. But the second one is focused on the individual oversplit. Means their individual problem, but
not quite. Not quite. I mean, oversleeping, who will oversleep? It's got to be individuals only, right? We are looking at human beings oversleeping, right? So that isn't the main focus here. So both are talking about individuals only. None of them are talking about any specific individuals. It doesn't say I oversleep or you oversleep or he oversleeps. No, it's about in general. People oversleep. Instead of individuals, they could have used the word people also. So I think that's the same in both. Is there anything else?
Yeah, I think the first sentence is problematic because it gives very vague
so anyone
reasons.
thinks the second sentence is problematic? I'll come to the first sentence, people, in a bit. If there's anybody who thinks the second sentence is problematic, I'd like to hear from them.
I think we have quite a few students raised hand. Maybe we can go with them. So Nivedita.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah, please tell me.
Nivedita or Kanak, Rutuja.
Ma'am, I found the first sentence pretty bland, which doesn't explain any causes of oversleeping. They just gave it, it examines the cause of oversleeping. But the second sentence seems to have explained that why individuals oversleep.
Yes. Okay. All right. Thank you. Anyone else?
Ma'am, the second sentence, it describes what the researchers, what they did, instead of just stating what they're going to show on the paper.
Wait, does it say what the researchers did? Is this sentence about describing what they did?
Yeah, describes what they found out.
What they found out. Excellent. They're giving the causes, right? There's this sentence word here, because. And then 1, 2, 3, there are 3 things, right? So it's not describing what they did, but rather the causes that they found. Okay. Okay. All right. Anybody else?
Ma'am, can I speak?
Yeah, of course.
Ma'am, according to me, as you can see, both the statement are the result statement, but the first statement is problematic because it is only citing a result, that what is the causes of oversleeping. But the second one not only tells the result but also explains the causes that can be for oversleeping. That's why it is more elaborated, I believe, and that's why it's good.
Okay, all right. Now let's see. Okay. The problem here is that the first sentence, and these are like one sentence abstracts, by the way, okay? So the abstract should provide a sentence of what it found. That's what it should do, okay? But the top one, it just says what the paper will ask or what it does, right? It doesn't say what it found. If you have just one sentence, then that sentence had better summarize what you found, okay? So that's fine. I mean, all of you are correct that here they actually give you what they found. The first one doesn't do that. It kind of just sort of says, okay, I'm going to look at this, or this report will do this, which is not this. And I've seen, trust me, many of you write excellent reports. But when it comes to writing the abstract, I have seen the same mistake everywhere. So next time you write an abstract for your whatever report you're writing, please keep this in mind. Okay, now I'll move to one more. That is, here again is a problematic sentence, okay? And you tell me.
Dijan, before we take this one more student is still raising hand. Drishti, if you want to say something.
Sure.
Or if it's already done, then I think we can move to the next one.
Okay, maybe we can pick people who haven't spoken first if you know who they are this time. Yeah, right. So, okay, same exercise. Now tell me which one is the problematic sentence here and why.
Madam, here the first sentence is the problematic one.
Okay. And the reason?
Because in the first sentence, there is no specific parameters. They are just mentioning the variables. But in the second sentence, there are specific parameters that is the second statement is giving us much more information, so it will be.
Yeah. Okay. Anybody else who would like to speak before I give the answer?
Ma'am, the first sentence is telling us about the journal categories, and the second one is specifically mentioning that what are the categories.
Okay. And why is that required? Why do you think that's, you have described it correctly, but why do you think the second one that way is superior compared to the first one?
Because ma'am, it is telling specifically that on what things we have done research, and the first one is generally saying that okay, we are studying about the variables.
Right. And again, here I'm talking about one sentence abstract, right? So that is only one sentence that you have got to tell everything that you have done in this work. Okay. So in that sense, the second one actually tells you what you have found, that you have found that seats matter and good quality popcorn matters. Okay. So next time you go for a movie, look out for those things. The first sentence doesn't say those things, right? So that is why the second sentence gives you the results of the study as well. So now you know you are interested and you will read that. Okay, so that's the okay. So look, we have looked at some of these problematic sentences. Okay, so both this one and the previous one had very similar issues with them. And I'm going to sort of end today. And if you have questions, I'm going to sort of take these questions. But what I want to tell you is this: look, today I have spoken to you for 20-25 minutes, and you are not going to learn to write good abstract by just listening to it. Okay, you need to do some exercises on your own. You need to start writing. So that you have to do in a graded manner, right? You have to first climb the foothills before you climb the Himalayas, right? So the foothills are the sort of easy assignments that I've given to you. What are the easy assignments? There are 2 assignments that I've given, and there's a separate video explaining that. In one, you have to do the same thing. You have to identify the function of the sentences in an abstract. There, the abstract sentences are organized in order. In the next one, what you have to do is the abstract sentences are jumbled up. So before you find, you have to sort of unjumble it. And in order to unjumble it, you then have to identify what each sentence is doing. So it's slightly more difficult. And then I would give you an optional exercise that's not given, that's entirely up to you. Pick up anything that you read. It could be a newspaper report, science related, you know, the science section of your newspaper or a magazine article or something, and try to write an abstract for that. That's much more difficult. It doesn't have to be done in the next couple of days, but that's what you should do. Okay. Along with those things, I need you to go through these websites, you know, when you have time. So this is not just about abstracts. They have entire writing assignments there for people to do. I have chosen some of those from here, and I want you to practice from those. Okay. And if you do that, you will learn to write good abstracts. So that's kind of all I have to say today. So which is why I'm going to now stop sharing, and I'm going to kind of take any questions that you have. Otherwise, we will meet again tomorrow after you have done the assignments. Okay.
No, excellent. Thanks, Debjani. I think it was very informative, and that really triggers their interest now that short 100, 150 word is so useful for those write-ups. And that actually most of the time the editors just read the abstract and decide, are they going to send it for peer reviews or not, right? And it hardly takes them 2 minutes to 3 minutes time to decide that part. So now I think all the participants are learning these small details, why it is so crucial. And I think your 2 assignments which are due tonight, now they will pay more attention with great interest that they have to do that now.
Yeah.
So, right, so everyone please do those 2 assignments. Writing assignment, Professor Debjani has already posted, and lecture is already there. So those will be discussed, I think, tomorrow. By tonight, 10 p.m. they are due. So please do make sure that you finish those in the Google form. And we will share those sheets with Professor Debjani tonight, and then she will review some of those and talk to you tomorrow morning. And we will have more discussion about these points. So keep some of your queries ready. I think we'll have more interaction with her tomorrow. So thanks, Debjani, so much for agreeing to participate in fact 2 days and spending so much time with the participants. I'm sure they're going to get benefited from that.
It's a pleasure. I'll be very glad to take any other questions that I have not addressed tomorrow, and I hope you get something out of it. Thank you, Sanjeeva. Thanks a lot.
Thanks, Debjani. So,
bye.
All right, participants.